Principal Economic Advisor, Mr. Sanjeev Sanyal, Senior Economic Advisor, Dr. Archana Mathur, Senior Economic Advisor, Dr. Arvind Sachdeva, Economic Advisor, Mr. Arun Kumar, Economic Advisor, Mr. Anthony Syriac, Economic Advisor, Shri P.K. Abdul Karim. Friends, first the CA will make a detailed presentation, after which the floor is open for questions. Please follow the points of order as usual. A humble request, please keep your mobile phones on a switch off or silent mode. Over to the Chief Economic Advisor.
First of all, thanks to Frank. Thanks to all of you for braving the traffic. Of course, it gives me great pleasure in showing off this year's economic survey for 2017-18. Okay. So something like this, as you know, cannot be done by any one individual or a group of individuals. And I'm presenting this on behalf of a number of people, and I'd like to acknowledge some of them. My apologies, I'm going to miss some. In fact, if you look at the acknowledgements page or pages in the survey, it's really quite long, and I'm sure it should have been longer, so apologies. First of all, I'd like to thank the staff of the Economic Division, my colleagues who are sitting here, my officers of Team CEA, as we call it. I would also like to thank very much, the physical act of actually producing it. It takes a lot of effort. I would like to thank the coordinating unit, its head, and especially Aftab and Ashwini for really having seen the process very carefully. Lots of people who are not here have also contributed. Don't want to name all of them, but including some people in the US who came to contribute for this, to work for this. I'd like to thank them as well. I'd like to thank my colleagues who work with me, in the Ministry of Finance, especially the two that I work closest with, Dr. Hasmukh Adya and Mr. Subhash Garg. One couldn't ask for better colleagues like that in the ministry to work with. Of course, I would love to thank my boss, the Honorable Finance Minister, without whom, of course, none of this could happen. His support, his guidance, the cover that he provides have just been amazing in making all these 4 surveys that we've done possible. So a very special thanks to him. Last but not least this year, I want to extend a special, very, very special thanks to a group of people who kind of don't get enough, I think, credit for the work that we do. In the last survey and in this survey, we've spoken a lot about how we use big data. And I'm going to show you this year as well. We've used a lot of big data to come up with new facts and evidence. But, we can work with big data only if we get big data. And we get big data, or we've got big data, thanks to numerous colleagues in government, the deputy secretaries, the undersecretaries, the joint secretaries, the directors, in their own quiet ways, they've been helping us enormously. And I'd like to thank 2 people in particular who are here. I want them to stand up, both for themselves, but also for who they represent. Mr. Nilendu Mishra and Mr. Prakash Kumar, please stand up. I'd like to thank, it's people like this who, with their generous time, support, and guidance, who make some of the work possible here. In fact, but for Mr. Kumar and his colleagues in GSTN, a lot of the work which I'm going to show you would not have been possible. Of course, the cover is pink. We just wanted to make sure that we too, in our own small way, contribute to, expressing our support to the movement in favor of women and women's empowerment. In fact, there's a whole chapter in the survey on gender. So with that, let me quickly get to the economic survey itself. This year we have 2 volumes. We've gone back to the tradition. Last year we did it over 2 cycles. I think it confused a lot of people, and therefore we've gone back to 2 volumes. Volume 2 is, of course, the review of what happened over the last year, and in Volume 1 we build upon that to do some in-depth analysis and research and come up with new policy ideas. Overview of this presentation, I'm going to take about 25 minutes and then leave the floor open to questions. Frank, is that a good way of proceeding? I need to judge whether all of you are alert and awake. I don't want to bore you too much. So the presentation, it's in 5 parts: achievements, the analytical review, in particular understanding the temporary decoupling of the Indian economy. That naturally leads to the outlook for 2017-18, the rest of the year, and the next year, and the policy agenda. If I have time, I want to highlight some of the exciting new research that we've done that's presented in Volume 1. And I want to conclude with some big thoughts, maybe big and hopeless thoughts, but big thoughts nevertheless. Okay, what are the major achievements this year? I think that I would single out 2 or 3 very prominent ones. The launch of the transformational GST at the stroke of the midnight hour on July 1st. I think what is really important to take away also is the fact, as the finance minister said the other day or yesterday, that not only was it launched, and for something of such scale, complexity and scope, there were bound to be teething challenges. And I think it's fair to say that one of the remarkable things was, the mid-course, the corrective, expeditious actions that were taken, which have led to a kind of stabilization of the GST. Second, I think that, as you all know, from the very first survey onwards, we have spoken about the twin balance sheet challenge, over-indebted firms or undercapitalized banks, which had kind of held back growth for a long time. We call that the twin balance sheet challenge. I think this year, a series of really very important steps have been taken. The resolution that's underway under the IBC and the NCLT process. And of course, very recently, the recapitalizations, actually the details were announced. I think we think of the twin balance sheet challenge as having 4 R's, recognition, resolution, recapitalization, and reforms. And I think we're now really well ahead on almost all of them. I'll talk about reforms in a couple of seconds, but I think these were very, very important. The binding constraint festering was the twin balance sheet challenge, and I think there's some decisive tackling of that's taken place. So, as validation of these achievements and recognizing India's medium-term prospects, I think for the first time in 14 years, India got the sovereign ratings upgrade. And of course, we jumped many, many ranks in the ease of doing business. So these were, I think, quite very important, even transformational achievements this year. As I said, in order to understand what is happening or what's going to happen in the rest of the year and the next year, we really need to understand what happened in the last, 4 to 6 quarters. And I think one way to think about this is to see why the Indian economy decoupled from the rest of the economy for about 4 to 6 quarters. As you can see,
चलिए, तो जो घरेलू खपत है उसको बढ़ाने के लिए खासा जोर दिया जाएगा, एग्री, और साथ ही साथ एजुकेशन, रोजगार बढ़ाने के नए मौके तलाशे जाएंगे और 7.5%, इनफैक्ट 7 से 7.5% का लक्ष्य है FY19 का जीडीपी ग्रोथ एक्सपेक्टेशन है। ये देखना होगा कि बजट में क्या कुछ बड़े फैसले सरकार जो है वो करती है।